If I open my Bible right now, at the back of the book, I have the book of Revelation, the Apocalypse of John. In 1520s to 30s, Martin Luther translated the Bible into German. He placed the epistle to James in the back of the book with Revelation and Jude. He called this letter, the letter of James, a straw letter. It did not contain the gospel. It also seemed to have dispute with Paul's own letters. So there's this issue going on where Protestants have noticed grace to faith, not of works. James talks about anyone who tells you they have faith, tell them to show you their works. Without works, you're not going anywhere. You're not getting saved. There is no justification without works, okay? Now, I know there are scholars today who try to place Paul within Judaism in such a way to get over this contradictory issue. And I feel like sometimes they have to redefine faith, pistos, in order to make it mean just faithfulness, and not realize that Paul elsewhere talks about the works of the law being a bad thing. Can you imagine a Jew thinking the works of the law, like typical standard Jews would have thought the works of the law were bad? Or even Jesus saying not one jot or tittle of the law will pass away until there's a new heavens and new earth, right? That this law is everlasting? This is a very strange kind of thing we try to wrap our minds around. Well, I'm going to introduce you to a new course that Dr. James D. Tabor did. 10 lectures, extremely high quality. We're talking like 4K in person. And I sat behind this camera and I listened to James Tabor go through practically the entire New Testament. So much information. These are 10 one-hour lectures. He goes through the Epistle of James, and he points out that if you take the name Jesus out, that's only mentioned twice in the entire letter, you could read this in an actual modern synagogue. Like, you could read this in a Jewish synagogue, and they wouldn't catch that this was Christian. They wouldn't know that this was in the New Testament. That's how obviously Jewish it is. So then I was sitting there listening, and I'm going, man, and he's going through several texts, New Testament, extra biblical, archaeological. He's going into the Gospel of Matthew. There's this Hebrew Gospel of Matthew that they used against to try and get Jews to convert. Like, there's all of this information, plus the early church fathers who talk about these heretical sects, the Ebionites and the Nazarenes and the various different groups of Jewish Christ followers. And these guys weren't fans of Paul. And then I recall James Tabor's book, Paul and Jesus, right? He talks about this. He's got the Jesus Dynasty. He's got the Jesus Discovery. His new book, The Lost Mary, which covers this idea that Mary, a typical standard Jewish mother, has been erased from history because she's become this asceticized Greco-Roman mythological hero within Christianity. I love that about James, is he's trying to excavate the text like archaeology to try and unravel the earliest layer. So this course, we call it Christianity Before Paul, Rediscovering the Jewish Movement of Jesus. It's a 16-part lecture series, plus an exclusive bonus lecture included. If you register today for this groundbreaking historical course presented by Dr. James Tabor, you will get it right now. Own it for life, take it at your own pace, and he'll do 6 lectures that'll be additional lectures on Zoom with the students who sign up for the course. I must say, just like, these are my opinions. I'm hip firing here. I want to just tell you, my confidence in a historical Jesus went up by the end of these lectures because it just showed me this evolution that seems to be taking place within the New Testament. The way I feel in my mind is that Paul's letters are actually late. I know, it's the earliest material. But when you hear it, the way that he unravels it, it feels like Paul's late. And I've heard this from Paula Fredrickson before. She said, Paul's late. He's trying to have the end take place by going out and saving the nations. that's prophesied in Scripture. But then you get these hints that kind of indicate this earlier thing going on that may not have had the mission that we're talking about to the Gentiles at all. Even in Matthew, right? I came only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Strange little indicators that like Jesus and his movement and his following was mainly focused on Jews or Israelites, not focused on anyone beyond that, and that God would have come in and ushered in the end and the angels of God. The importance of John the Baptist to Jesus, I didn't really think of as that significant until I saw and read this and really watched the course and went through the course, listening to James. The course provides over 300 pages of material that you can take your time, read. There's books he's including for free, a lot of academic material for you to digest. 6 of those live lectures that he's going to do for students who sign up, lecture 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, he's going to do on Theophilus of Antioch, Judeo-Christian archaeology, a band of sisters, women in the early movement, the Ebionites beyond the Jordan, Nag Hammadi and Gnostic text, and Marcion's gospel. It's also early bird special up to December 31st. So by New Year's, that price change will change. This is probably the most informative course I've ever heard Dr. Tabor do. And I recorded all of the courses he's done so far with Mark. He did a course on Mark, which was really a hit. A lot of people loved his stuff on Mark. It was amazing. He did one on the Dead Sea Scrolls and its relationship to the Jesus movement or Jesus. And he did another one that was on the historical Paul. But this one takes the cake, in my opinion. This one goes beyond any of them that I've ever seen done. And it makes you reevaluate in your mind's eye how that early movement formed. And the takeaway is this movement began right there out the gate with Jesus, right? His followers were practicing Jews. This was a Jewish movement, a form of Judaism. Apocalyptic, yeah, but a form of Judaism. And in fact, John the Baptist was its head. He was the significant figure, a Messiah-type figure. Jesus carries the torch of John the Baptist. And just like early Islam had its rift, civil war took place in early Islam over who was supposed to carry the torch. Was the Shia correct that Ali was supposed to carry the torch? Or are the Sunnis correct that it's really the companions of the Prophet who are supposed to carry the torch? You had this wrestling between family and companions, friends, people who are following the message of the Prophet. These are like the rift that goes on. And the same problem happens in the early Christian movement. Who's supposed to carry the torch for Jesus? John dies, Jesus carries it. Jesus dies, James, the brother of the Lord, carries the torch. He is the leader of the Jerusalem church or the Jerusalem gathering. The followers of this movement, the way, James was the leader. But then this guy named Paul comes along. And Christianity, ultimately, historically, decided it was going to follow down the Paul path more than it was going to go down the Jerusalem-James path. And you can easily see historically why, for multiple reasons, this would have happened. But so this earlier movement, we get to peer behind Paul, but this movement doesn't go extinct before Paul. It's alive and well at the same time as Paul and after Paul. And in fact, one could argue that much of the material that we see that is added or that takes place within the New Testament and within the early church fathers is veering away from some of the Jewish Christianity that we see. This earlier Jewish movement. Using the word Christianity is probably a bad word, because you have this idea of this developed theology that happened. No. We're talking Jews. Paula Fredrickson calls them when Christians were Jews. But as James Tabor points out on his blog, jamestabor.com, even that's kind of Christianity? Nah. Christianity ultimately is this idea about the gospel. The gospel is something Paul talks about. His evangelion. which came via a revelation. That's not what the earlier movements seem to have. The earlier apocalyptic Jewish movement doesn't look like what Paul seems to be teaching. And so there's this pseudo-Clementine literature that kind of later reflects, I think, this kind of issue, this rift, where Paul's getting revelation and James and Peter are saying, no, we learned from him. We sat at his feet, man. We don't have to act like an angel had to tell us something. We got it from the man himself. But Paul gets direct revelation, and they call in the pseudo-Clementine literature that this could have been a demon. This could have been a devil that was teaching you. I love this course, and I hope that you will sign up. You'll own it for life, high quality, of course. It's a fascinating way to try and reevaluate the origins of Christianity as it would have started from a Jewish movement, and it may even explain potential like later influences like Islam. Why is Islam influenced by Christianity and Judaism? The Jewish and Christian ideas. Maybe there were forms of a Judaism Christ movement that were already down here in Arabia. Just saying. You have these really interesting possibilities that open up when you evaluate it this way. And truthfully, my confidence on thinking there was a historical Jesus definitely went up based on this course. There's a lot more that he gets into and covers, and it makes you really think, man, historically we know the temple got destroyed, and Jerusalem, not just the temple, but Jerusalem itself was razed. Rome went in and stomped those grounds. So the church there would have obviously lost a lot of popularity and would have easily been less significant than developing churches in the Greco-Roman world. Couple that with Paul's gospel message going out to a much broader world with a far greater population of Greco-Roman audience, you could see why the success of something like this would have taken off far more than a Jewish form of a Christ movement. Paul's message adopts ideas that I see within Greco-Roman idea or theology. I think I had Courtney Friesen on not long ago who talked about the atonement and this idea of a single individual atoning for righteous people that we find in the Alcestis story with Heracles. This seems to be in Paul. In some way, there's an overlap between the Heracles atonement theme in Alcestis and Paul's theology. Paul has a lot of philosophy that shows up in Greco-Roman theology as well. And this earlier movement before Paul kind of cuts through the fluff of that and is much more practical, much more of a Judaism angle and not so much Christianity that we see in Paul. So it makes you want to think, like, what is going on in the earliest Christian movements? What is going on that is causing these different voices to come up? And James Tabor dives deep into 1 Peter where he thinks there's something of an earlier layer in 1 Peter, and someone comes in and starts to try and fudge with 1 Peter to make 1 Peter kind of accommodational to Pauline theology. He also attempts this with the book of Revelation, the Apocalypse of John, in this course. So it's so much information, so much material for you to gnaw on, and I don't think there's another course that does anything like this out there. Again, sign up today at www.mythvisionpodcast.com/before-Paul. Before-Paul. Link will be in the comments under this video, in the description of this video, and of course on the screen so that you can see it. I hope you'll go sign up today. The queen of MythVision, the wife and wonderful partner that I've had for now going on 19 years, has worked her tail off to make this course. She's put so much effort and energy into it, and we both together have walked away talking about this for days now going, this is something else. This course is next level. I don't think that there's another course online like this. And this is very much academic college level, but it's accessible for anybody. Like anyone can take this and realize what's going on and follow what James is doing. His teaching skills are great. I mean, he's been doing it for 40 something years. We've done 3 other ones before this, and a lot of people have enjoyed those. On top of that, you get a PhD as your own professor through the convenience of your TV screen, your computer screen at home. So a lot of people love the Zoom meetings, which he's going to do 6 of them after, he has the dates here, of course, on the website, but he has 6 of these lectures, and you'll be there in person. I believe he does Q&A and all of this fun stuff. So you'll be able to actually learn at the feet of James Tabor, who was also a student of Jonathan Z. Smith and other brilliant minds historically. One of the greatest minds on the Gospel of Mark. I can't remember the academic's name off the top of my mind. I'm just here hip firing to tell you about this new course. And I've learned a lot. I really, really have. I'm on a journey. My channel started out MythVision. A lot of people saw that I did a lot of mythicist stuff, and I still entertain interviewing and learning from mythicists. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of mythology and legend in the New Testament. So I think that's what really entertained me. But then I started thinking there was probably a Jesus, and it's far more likely to me that there was. It makes better sense in my mind than not. By the end of this course, I started to think, man, like my confidence went up. I can't put a number on it, but my confidence went up. I felt that there was definitely a more likeliness historical Jesus, and we're starting to see something very human early, prior to Paul, before they padded all this legend and mythology into this, about a guy named Jesus who was a teacher who thought the end of the world was probably going to happen in his own lifetime. And I just thought, wow, that doesn't take magic to believe. You don't have to think superstition, right? For me, I have a lot of friends who believe, and I'm much more skeptical, but this kind of message anyone can walk away with. It's almost like the pragmatic, practical teachings you can find here. Some of them clearly have apocalypticism attached to them, and I think those are mistakes, right? I think, yeah, you're wrong about that. But there's some wisdom there that you can take away and realize, wow, this stuff might be some of the stuff that went back to the actual dude himself. Not saying the exact sayings, we can say he said those things, but that we have like a glimpse to a person in a movement prior to the elaborative legend that they have tacked onto this character, to this person. I really hope that everybody who signs up for it today, let me know in the comments that you did. Also, thank you for all the encouragement through all my anxiety and stress that I've had over the past few months. It means the world that I'm not alone, and to know that it's helpful to you to hear this. I mean, look, I thought I was the Titanic, and, there's a crack in the iceberg. The iceberg cracked the ship and, started sinking. But here's the thing. We have lifeboats. And nobody needs to die. So I seriously appreciate you, everybody, for being here, participating, and being supportive of what my wife and I have put together here, trying to work so hard. You're also helping out Dr. Tabor by doing this. It means a lot to every one of us that people want to participate, take these classes, and learn more, and to follow up and go deeper into learning all of this material, because I think we all want to know the truth. I really think we all want to know the truth, and background knowledge can help us on how we evaluate or think about this material. So let me know. Comment down below. Like this video. Share it out there. And what do you think? Once you take the course, I want to hear what you think. I really do. I look forward to it. So thank you so much. www.mythvisionpodcast.com/before-Paul.